Although the cabin was super cozy to spend the night in, I slept a bit less well. This had everything to do with a mosquito invasion in our cabin. Wim had stretched the tent tarp over the entrance of the cabin as rain was forecasted for the night. The tarp kept the rain out, but the mosquitoes clearly found their way in. Fortunately, my DEET shower kept the little monsters from feasting on my skin, but unfortunately it did nothing to stop their buzzing. This morning another rain front is passing over us. We have been on our bikes for barely 15 minutes when the first raindrops start to fall. We put on our rain gear. We don't get a heavy downpour, but throughout the whole morning we are thoroughly drenched by Swedish rain. But the paths, flowers and views remain just as beautiful. We can't find a cabin or shelter to take cover under, so we cycle 50 kilometers straight without taking a single break or eating anything. As we pedal further, we are surrounded by the beauty of nature, with verdant forests stretching out on either side of us. The rhythmic patter of raindrops on our helmets creates a soothing soundtrack to our journey, while the rain itself transforms the sky into an ever-changing canvas of dramatic cloud formations. Upon arriving in the village of Konga, the weather clears up a bit. The only shop in the village is at the gas station. Fortunately, they have everything we need for lunch, and we also grab some ingredients to cook something nice on the gas stove tonight. Since we're so hungry, we eat our lunch right away on a bench in front of the gas station. The sky turns increasingly blue, and suddenly we find ourselves back in spring. We follow a wide gravel road that suddenly dead ends. The path turns into a single track, which is reasonably passable with our heavily loaded bikes. Our path seems to enjoy dead ends today because we soon come across a closed pasture near a house on a hill. Though we could easily gain access to the pasture, it seems to be private property, especially since there's a large house in the field. So we turn back and quickly map out an alternative route, which we find without much trouble. We pass by a campsite but decide to skip it as we have our sights set on a cabin further ahead. After some searching, we find the path to the cabin, which is actually well marked with an arrow. Vindskit is written in large white letters on the wooden sign, which means wind shelter in Swedish. We quickly noticed that the cabin has seen better days. Some Dutch people had slept here in the summer of 1983, as we can read from the brand mark they left on one of the beams with a marker. The floor is rough and dirty. When Wim tries to lay our sleeping mats in the cabin, he just in time spots 2 wasp nests in the ceiling. We briefly consider pitching the tent instead of sleeping in the cabin, but Wim prefers to remove the wasp nests himself. With both of us mosquito heads on, Wim takes action. He cuts the nest loose with a knife and catches the small balls in a container. As his charming assistant, I hand in the necessary tools. Of course, we don't feel good about destroying the nests, but it had to be done sooner or later. A wind shelter like this is often used by adventurers like us, or families with children. What if an unsuspecting family sleeps here and suddenly gets attacked by 2 swarms of wasps? We believe in live and let live, but these wasp nests simply didn't belong here. After a while we find a 3rd wasp nest in the cabin, which Wim expertly removes like the other 2. We then see the queen nervously flying up and down for a while before she eventually gives up, likely to build a new nest elsewhere for her workers. As evening falls, we enjoy a beautiful sunset and the greeting of thousands of tiny biting midges. No mosquitoes this time, but midges. Luckily, after the wasp adventure, we had already set up a mosquito net over our sleeping mats, so these midges don't stand a chance tonight. When we close the white mosquito net above us like a canopy bed, we hear an animal rustling next to the cabin. Could it be a deer? Or finally, an elk? I stare into the darkness, hoping to spot the animal, but eventually my eyes close.